Hey guys, it's Melanie. Welcome to my channel. Today I have another book haul for you, so stay tuned. So today I have 33 books to haul for you. It seemed like so much more because the stack was so big, but I think it's just some of them are really thick. But still, 33 books. So I'm going to bring you a little bit closer. I had to have it so far out so you could see all of the beautiful books. But now I'm going to bring you in closer and we'll get started on what all I got. Okay, so we can start with this stack up here. Let me go ahead and pull it down. These are all of the books that were so kindly sent to me, and thank you so much. So these first 7 books here were sent to me from my bestest booktube buddy, Clint from Reads Readers. Love him. So the first book from Clint was The Gravity of Us by Phil Stamper. What I know about this is it is a queer story where these two boys, their parents, go on a mission to Mars or something like that. This says, what happens when life interrupts all your plans? Cal Lewis is on his way to becoming a famous social media journalist with almost 500,000 followers on his Flash Fame app. But when his pilot father is selected for a highly publicized NASA mission to Mars, within days, Cal and his parents leave Brooklyn and all his career plans behind. In his new home of Houston, Texas, Cal is thrust into a media circus. Suddenly, his life is more like a reality TV show, and he and his parents struggle to play the perfect American family. When Cal meets Leon, whose mother is another astronaut, he finds himself falling head over heels. Cal and Leon become an oasis for each other amid their hectic new lives. But as the frenzy around the mission mounts, Cal suspects there are secrets being kept from the families and the country that could change everything. Can he find out the truth without hurting the people who have become most important to him? Perfectly capturing the self-doubt of growing up and the thrill of first love, this smart, heartwarming debut will leave readers starry-eyed. Okay, next up we have Stay Gold by Tobley McSmith, and I know this is like a queer trans story. This says, Pony just wants to fly under the radar for senior year. Tired of too much attention at his old school after coming out as transgender, he's hoping for a fresh start at Hillcrest High. But it's hard to live your best life when the threat of exposure lurks down every hallway and in every bathroom. Georgia is beginning to think there's more to life than cheerleading. She just wants to keep a low profile until graduation, which is why she promised herself that dating is officially a no-go this year. Then, on the very first day of school, the new guy and the cheerleader lock eyes. How is Pony supposed to stay stealth when he wants to get close to a girl like Georgia? How is Georgia supposed to keep her promise when sparks start flying with the boy like Pony? Funny and poignant, clear-eyed and hopeful, Stay Gold is a story about finding love and finding yourself. And then he sent me Cinderella Is Dead by Kaylin Bayron. And I know this is like not a Cinderella retelling, but like a reimagining of what happened after the happily ever after and what happens in the future in this world. And let's see. This says, it's been 200 years since Cinderella found her prince, but the fairy tale is over. Teen girls are now required to appear at the annual ball where the men of the kingdom select wives based on a girl's display of finery. If a suitable match is not found, the girls not chosen are never heard from again. 16-year-old Sophia would much rather marry Aaron, her childhood best friend, than parade in front of suitors. At the ball, Sophia makes the desperate decision to flee and finds herself hiding in Cinderella's mausoleum. There she meets Constance, the last known descendant of Cinderella, and her stepsisters. Together they vow to bring down the king once and for all, and in the process, they learn that there's more to Cinderella's story than they ever knew. This fresh take on a classic story will make readers question the tales they've been told and root for girls to break down the constructs of the world around them. And this is an art copy, but the book came out July 7th of 2020. He also sent me an arc of The Ravens by Cass Morgan and Danielle Page. This says, only their sisterhood can save them. At first glance, the sisters of ultra-exclusive Kappa Rho Nu, the Ravens, seem like typical sorority girls. Ambitious, beautiful, and smart, they're the most powerful girls on Westerly College's Savannah, Georgia campus. But the Ravens aren't just regular sorority girls, they're witches. Scarlet Winter has always known she's a witch, and she's determined to be the sorority's president, just like her mother and sister before her. But if a painful secret from her past ever comes to light, she could lose absolutely everything. Vivi Devereaux has no idea she's a witch, and she's never lived in one place long enough to make a friend. So when she gets a coveted bid to pledge the Ravens, she vows to do whatever it takes to be part of the magical sisterhood. The only thing standing in her way is Scarlet, who doesn't think Vivi is Raven's material. But when a dark power rises on campus, the girls will have to put their rivalry aside to save their fellow sisters. Someone has discovered the Raven's secret, and that someone will do anything to see these witches burn. Oh, that sounds so good. Okay, next up he sent me The Black Flamingo by Dean Atta. And I think this is a trans coming out story, and it's told in verse. And this says, Michael is a mixed-race gay teen growing up in London. All his life he's navigated what it means to be Greek, Cypriot, and Jamaican, but never quite feeling Greek or black enough. As he gets older, Michael's coming out is only the start of learning who he is and where he fits in. No, this is not trans. It's just queer and drag. When he discovers the drag society, he finally finds where he belongs, and the Black Flamingo is born. Told with raw honesty, insight, and lyricism, this debut from acclaimed poet Dean Atta explores the layers of identity that makes us who we are and allows us to shine. Next up is Hunting November by Adriana Mather. This is the sequel to Killing November. And I read that a couple of years ago. We actually had Adriana on my channel for our very first live show with an author from one of our season-a-thons. And that was a lot of fun. I'll actually link that live show up here if you want to go and check it out. It was, as I said, from a couple of years ago. And my first time ever interviewing an author, so that was something. But because this is a sequel, I can't really tell you too much about this. So I pulled up Killing November on Goodreads. I have the book, it's just on my shelf somewhere. But this was easier. Okay, this says, it's a school completely off the grid, hidden by dense forests and surrounded by traps. There's no electricity, no internet, and an eye for an eye punishment system. Classes include everything from knife throwing and poisons to the art of deception and historical analysis. And all of the students are children of the world's most elite strategists, training to become assassins, counselors, spies, and master impersonators. Into this world walks November Adley, who quickly discovers that friends are few in a school where personal revelations are discouraged and competition is everything. When another student is murdered, all eyes turn to November, who must figure out exactly how she fits into the school's bizarre strategy games before she is found guilty of the crime or becomes the killer's next victim. And I remember I really, really enjoyed it. It was, I mean, dark academia, boarding school for assassins. It was fun. And I'm really looking forward to reading this one. And then the last book of the ones that Clint sent me, we have Surrender Your Sons by Adam Sass. And if I remember correctly, this is about a boy coming out as queer and then his mother shipping him off to a conversion camp. And if that wasn't bad enough, things are not quite as they seem there. This says, Connor Major's summer break is turning into a nightmare. His SAT scores bombed, the old man he delivers meals to died, and when he came out to his religious zealot mother, she had him kidnapped and shipped off to a secluded island. His final destination, Nightlight Ministries, a conversion therapy camp that will be his new home until he changes. But Connor's troubles are only beginning. At Nightlight, everyone has something to hide, from the campers to the converted, staff and cagey camp director, and it quickly becomes clear that no one is safe. Connor plans to escape and bring the other kidnapped teens with him, but first he's exposing the camp's horrible truths for what they are and taking this place down. And I think this sounds like it's going to be really, really good. Now, the last book that was gifted to me was from one of you named Amanda. She saw me talk about this book in a video saying that I really wanted to get it and wanted to read it. And apparently she was not a fan of the book and had bought it herself and told me to save my money. If I really, really wanted to read it, she'd send me her copy. So she sent me her copy of Ready Player 2 by Ernest Cline. And I am super excited to read this. I read the first one with Xander and absolutely loved it. And we went and watched the movie, and though the movie is great, the movie's nothing like the book at all. Let me pull up on Goodreads about Ready Player One so I can tell you about that one. Okay, so for Ready Player One, it says, in the year 2044, reality is an ugly place. The only time teenage Wade Watts really feels alive is when he's jacked into the virtual utopia known as the Oasis. Wade's devoted his life to studying the puzzles hidden within the world's digital confines. Puzzles that are based on their creator's obsession with pop culture of decades past, and that promise massive power and fortune to whoever can unlock them. But when Wade stumbles upon the first clue, he finds himself beset by players willing to kill to take this ultimate prize. The race is on, and if Wade's going to survive, he'll have to win, and confront the real world he's always been so desperate to escape. And I've heard not great things about this one, but I still want to read it because I just want to form my own opinion, because I did love the first book so much. So I'm super excited to read this. Okay, now we'll do this stack up here. These are books that came from, well, the first three came from subscription boxes, and then the rest were books that I bought from McKay's. Okay, so the first two books here came from my Books That Matter subscription box. So the first one is a very small little book. It was sort of a bonus booklet, maybe. This is called Break the Glass, an essay by Rachel Edwards. And this says, in a deeply personal and beautifully written essay, author Rachel Edwards explores the process of opening up about one's mental health and her own journey, exploring her family's history with mental health, stigma, and support systems. This essay is not only a touching personal memoir, but also reads as a supportive guide to navigating mental health struggles in the modern world. And then the main book in that box was Skin by E.M. Reapy. Sorry if the camera is wiggling a little bit. Miss Katniss is here, and she is bumping her body into the tripod. Anyway, this says, would you travel the world to feel at home in your skin? Natalie is uncomfortable in herself. Her most recent relationship is long since over, and she is disillusioned with her career as a teacher. So she packs her bags and goes traveling in hope of finding a place for herself in the world. But her isolation abroad only heightens her sense of unease. Obsessed with how others perceive her, she recoils from relationships and eats, compulsively and self-destructively, to silence the anxious voices in her head that never seem satisfied. Skin engages powerfully with issues of self and belonging via an incredibly beguiling protagonist, intelligent and self-aware, sharp and acute. Next up is a book that came in my Brave Girls book club box, and that is The Castle of Tangled Magic by Sophie Anderson. And I think this is just a stunning cover. Also, I don't know if you can see Katniss, but she is like bumping into me. This says, Magic awaits. All you have to do is believe. When 13-year-old Olia steps through a magical doorway, she discovers another land, a land tangled by magic, where hope is lost and a scheming wizard holds all the power. Soon, Olia learns that she is destined to save this land, but with time running out and her new friends and family in danger, she must search for the magic within herself to save everything and everyone she loves. Do you need some attention? Katniss needs all of the attention and love all of the time. Especially when I'm filming. Isn't that right? She's a camera hog. She's a camera hog. Okay, next up are the books that I got from McKay's. If you don't know, McKay's is this amazing, massive used bookstore here, and you can like take books and trade them in and things like that. And so I always end up taking books off to McKay's, and they'll give you credit. They'll give you cash or credit, but they don't give you as much cash. So I always get credit because I always spend it. And of course, the last time I went during my 24 and 48 hour readathon, I did like a little bit of a come with me to McKay's shopping trip, and I bought these. Actually, I have 5 books here in front of me, but I just realized that I bought 6 books there. So my haul is actually 34 books, not 33. And the reason why I only have 5 out of the 6 is because one of them is on my TBR. So let me go grab that. Hold on. Okay, I'm back. So the one that was on my is on my TBR for the upcoming month is The Cousins by Karen M. McManus. And I have read another book by Karen M. McManus before, but I wasn't a huge fan. But Clint, my friend, he has raved and raved about her and this book specifically, so I wanted to give it another shot and see. And he said this is probably her best so far. This says, Millie, Aubrey, and Jonah Story are cousins, but they barely know each other, and they've never even met their grandmother. Rich and reclusive, she disinherited their parents before they were born, so when they each receive a letter inviting them to work at her island resort for the summer, they're surprised and curious. Their parents are unwavering on one point. Not going is not an option. This could be their chance to get back into grandmother's good graces. But when the cousins arrive on the island, it's immediately clear that she has different plans for them. And the longer they stay, the more they realize how mysterious and dark their family's past is. The entire Story family has secrets. Whatever pulled them apart years ago isn't over, and this summer, the cousins will learn everything, if they can survive the season. And I mean, it does sound really interesting, so hopefully I'll love it. I also picked up paperback copies of The Dream Thieves by Maggie Stiefvater, Blue Lily, Lily Blue, and The Raven King. I actually already own The Raven Boys, so when I saw these and they were only $5 each, I had to pick them up. But I pulled up on Goodreads here so I could tell you about The Raven Boys. I'll just hold up this one. It says, it is freezing in the churchyard even before the dead arrive. Every year, Blue Sergeant stands next to her clairvoyant mother as the soon-to-be dead walk past. Blue herself never sees them, not until this year, when a boy emerges from the dark and speaks directly to her. His name is Gansey, and Blue soon discovers that he is a rich student at Aglinby, I don't know how to say it, the local private school. Blue has a policy of staying away from Aglinby boys, known as Raven Boys, but they can only mean trouble. But Blue is drawn to Gansey in a way she can't entirely explain. He has it all: family, money, good looks, devoted friends, but he's looking for much more than that. He's on a quest that has encompassed 3 other Raven Boys: Adam, the scholarship student who resents all the privilege around him; Ronan, the fierce soul who ranges from anger to despair; and Noah, the taciturn watcher of the 4 who notices many things but says very little. For as long as she can remember, Blue has been warned that she will cause her true love to die. She never thought this would be a problem, but now as her life becomes caught up in the strange and sinister world of the Raven Boys, she's not so sure anymore. And I did try to read the Raven Boys once before, and I can't remember why. I think it was maybe I was listening to an audiobook of it and needed to physically read it or what, but I think that was the case because I just really wasn't like getting what was going on. But I was really interested, and so I kept it thinking that I would eventually reread it. And I know that a lot of people really love this series, so I wanted to give it a chance. And when I saw these, I figured why not get the rest of the set. Okay, the next book that I got from there was The Hand on the Wall by Maureen Johnson, and this is the third book in the Truly Devious series. I have read the first book, Truly Devious, and absolutely loved it. I gave it 5 stars. And when I saw this, I wanted to pick it up. I still don't own the second book, and I need to get it, but I'm really excited to continue this series. So I pulled up on Goodreads about Truly Devious. Ellingham Academy is a famous private school in Vermont for the brightest thinkers, inventors, and artists. It was founded by Albert Ellingham, an early 20th century tycoon who wanted to make a wonderful place full of riddles, twisting pathways, and gardens. A place, he said, where learning is a game. Shortly after the school opened, his wife and daughter were kidnapped. The only real clue was a mocking riddle listing methods of murder, signed with the frightening pseudonym Truly Devious. It became one of the great unsolved crimes of American history. True crime aficionado Stevie Bell is set to begin her first year at Ellingham Academy, and she has an ambitious plan. She will solve this cold case. That is, she will solve the case when she gets a grip on her demanding new school life and her housemates, the inventor, the novelist, the actor, the artist, and the jokester. But something strange is happening. Truly Devious makes a surprise return, and death revisits Ellingham Academy. The past has crawled out of its grave. Someone has gotten away with murder. The two interwoven mysteries of this first book in the Truly Devious series dovetail brilliantly, and Stevie Bell will continue her relentless quest for the murders in books 2 and 3. And I actually did write a review for this, and I said, oh, and I read this back in May of 2018. I said, this was such a good book and I flew through it. For some reason, I didn't realize that it was the beginning of a series, and as it got closer to the end, I was wondering how they were going to wrap everything up with so few pages left. Then I got to the end and saw it to be continued, and I was like, no! LOL, I cannot wait for the next book to come out. If you like Sherlock Holmes, Agatha Christie, or any murder mystery books, you will enjoy this book. I would also say that this is a good choice for fans of the series A Study in Charlotte. Okay, the last book that I got from McKay's is A Sky Beyond the Storm by Sabaa Tahir, and I think this is the 4th book in the An Ember in the Ashes series. I have read the first 2. I pre-ordered the 3rd one, but just never got around to reading it. And so I never bothered to get the 4th one until I happened to see it at McKay's, so I picked this up. But let me tell you about An Ember in the Ashes. Layla is a slave. Elias is a soldier. Neither is free. Under the Martial Empire, defiance is met with death. Those who do not vow their blood and bodies to the Emperor risk the execution of their loved ones and the destruction of all they hold dear. It is in this brutal world, inspired by ancient Rome, that Leia lives with her grandparents and older brother. The family X out of existence in the Empire's impoverished back streets. They do not challenge the Empire. They've seen what happens to those who do. But when Leia's brother is arrested for treason, Leia is forced to make a decision. In exchange for help from rebels who promise to rescue her brother, she will risk her life to spy for them from within the Empire's greatest military academy. There Leia meets Elias, the school's finest soldier, and secretly its most unwilling. Elias wants only to be free of the tyranny he's being trained to enforce. He and Leia will soon realize that their destinies are intertwined and that their choices will change the fate of the empire itself. And I read this one, or the first one, in April of 2018. I gave it 4 stars, but I said I would give this book a 4.5 if I could. I really enjoyed it. Leia would do anything to save her brother, including becoming a spy for a group of rebels inside the Martial Empire's greatest military academy. She is treated as a slave and suffers greatly at the hands of the commandant, who is the leader of the academy. Elias is the school's finest soldier and the son of the commandant, but he would do anything to be free of the Empire, his mother, and everything they stand for. Leia and Elias are drawn together and could be exactly what the other one needs. Okay, let's start over here. So, these first 2 books are actually books that I pre-ordered that came this month. Ugh. So the first one that came out was Payback by Kristen Simmons, and this is the 3rd and final book in the Deceivers or Vale Hall series. The Deceivers is book 1. Sorry, I have cat hair on my face. And The Deceivers, this whole series is so freaking good. It is about boarding school for con artists. I'm going to pull it up on Goodreads so they can give a better synopsis. Okay, so for The Deceivers it says, "Welcome to Vale Hall, the school for aspiring con artists. When Brynhilder is recruited to Vale, it seems like the elite academy is her chance to start over, away from her mom's loser boyfriend and her run-down neighborhood. But she soon learns that Vale chooses students not so much for their scholastic talent as for their extracurricular activities, such as her time spent conning rich North Shore kids out of their extravagant allowances. At first, Bryn jumps at the chance to help the school in its mission to rid the city of corrupt officials, because what could be better than giving entitled jerks what they deserve? But that's before she meets her Mark, a senator's son, and before she discovers the school's headmaster has secrets he'll stop at nothing to protect. As the lines between right and wrong blur, Bryn begins to realize she's in way over her head. And this is actually like a Valhalla Norse mythology kind of retelling, and so good. The first time I read The Deceivers was in December of 2020, and I gave it 4 stars and said, "This is such a good, fun read. I cannot wait to read Scammed, which is the sequel. The Deceivers is about an elite boarding school for con artists / vigilantes. They gather secrets in order to bring down bad guys. Bryn's assignment is to date the governor's son to collect dirt on the governor. What could possibly go wrong?" And when I read Scammed and when I read Payback, because I actually had an e-arc of this, I gave both 5 stars. They were so good. And then the other book that I pre-ordered is a big book. That is A Court of Silver Flames by Sarah J. Maas. This is the 4th full book, I guess, in A Court of Thorns and Roses series. And I say 4th full book because there was a 4th book, but it was like a novella, and it was like this, like half the size of this book. So I pulled up on Goodreads, A Court of Thorns and Roses. This says, Feyre's survival rests upon her ability to hunt and kill. The forest where she lives is a cold, bleak place in the long winter months. So when she spots a deer in the forest being pursued by a wolf, she cannot resist fighting it for the flesh. But to do so, she must kill the predator, and killing something so precious comes at a price. Dragged to a magical kingdom for the murder of a fairy, Feyre discovers that her captor, his face obscured by a jeweled mask, is hiding far more than his piercing green eyes would suggest. Feyre's presence at the court is closely guarded, and as she begins to learn why, her feelings for him turn from hostility to passion, and the fairy lands become an even more dangerous place. Feyre must fight to break an ancient curse, or she will lose him forever. And if you couldn't tell, at least the first book is a very loosely inspired by Beauty and the Beast. It's supposed to be a Beauty and the Beast retelling, but I can tell you it veers far from the Beauty and the Beast story. But it really is so good, and I cannot wait to get into this beast. Okay, the rest of these books are all books that I ordered online. So let's start with this one. Or here, I'll just pull down this whole stack. Okay, the first book I have here is called Just Dreaming by Kirsten Gier. Kirsten Gier. I want to make sure I'm pronouncing that right. Kirsten Gier. And this is the third book in the Silver trilogy. And this series is, or this trilogy is translated from German. The first book is called Dream a Little Dream. I actually have the first two books on my shelf over here, but anyway, Dream a Little Dream says, mysterious doors with lizard head knobs, talking stone statues, a crazy girl with a hatchet. Yes, Liv's dreams have been pretty weird lately, especially the one where she's in a graveyard at night watching 4 boys conduct dark magic rituals. The strangest part is that Liv recognizes the boys in her dream. They're classmates from her new school in London, the school where she's starting over because her mom has moved them to a new country again. And what's really scaring Liv is that the dream boys seem to know things about her in real life, things they couldn't possibly know unless they actually are in her dreams. Luckily, Liv never could resist a good mystery, and all 4 of those boys are pretty cute. Okay, next up we have Winter Glass by Lexa Hillier. And this is the second book in the Spindle Fire series. So the first book says, a kingdom burns, a princess sleeps. This is no fairy tale. It all started with the burning of the spindles. No, it all started with a curse. Half-sisters Isabel and Aurora are polar opposites. Isabel is the king's headstrong, illegitimate daughter whose sight was tithed by fairies. Aurora, beautiful and sheltered, was tithed her sense of touch and her voice on the same day. Despite their differences, the sisters have always been extremely close. And then everything changes with a single drop of Aurora's blood and a sleep so deep it cannot be broken. As the Fairy Queen and her army of vultures prepare to march, Isabel must race to find a prince who can awaken her sister with the kiss of true love and seal their 2 kingdoms in an alliance against the Queen. Isabel crosses land and sea, unearthly thorny vines rise up the palace walls, and whispers of revolt travel in the ashes on the wind. The kingdom falls to ruin under layers of snow. Meanwhile, Aurora wakes up in a strange and enchanted world where a mysterious hunter may be the secret to her escape, or the reason for her stay. And as you can tell, this is a Sleeping Beauty retelling, and I just love retellings like that. Next up is a book that I'm really excited to read. I'm a little intimidated by it, but I know everybody that's read it has loved it. And that is Illuminae by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. And I know this is told in like a lot of different multimedia formats, and I've heard it's just incredibly entertaining to read. I've also heard it's really good to listen to, but that the best way to enjoy this book is to physically read it and listen to it at the same time. And I'm really looking forward to this. My little buddy read Twitter group is actually going to be reading this series in a couple of months from now, so I'm really excited to get to this. Okay, next up is Crystal Storm by Morgan Rhodes. This is book 5 in the Falling Kingdoms series, and book 1 is Falling Kingdoms. And this says, in the 3 kingdoms of Mythica, magic has long been forgotten, and while hard-won peace has reigned for centuries, a deadly unrest now simmers below the surface. As the rulers of each kingdom grapple for power, the lives of their subjects are brutally transformed, and 4 key players, royals and rebels alike, find their fates forever intertwined. Cleo, Jonas, Lucia, and Magnus are caught in a dizzying world of treacherous betrayals, shocking murders, secret alliances, and unforeseen love. The only outcome that's certain is that kingdoms will fall. Who will emerge triumphant when all they know has collapsed? It's the eve of war. Choose your side. Princess. Raised in pampered luxury, Cleo must now embark on a rough and treacherous journey into enemy territory in search of magic long thought extinct. Rebel. Jonah's, enraged at injustice, lashes out against the forces of oppression that have kept his country cruelly impoverished. To his shock, he finds himself the leader of a people's revolution centuries in the making. Sorceress. Lucia, adopted at birth into the royal family, discovers the truth about her past and the supernatural legacy she's destined to wield. Heir. Bred for aggression and trained to conquer, firstborn son Magnus begins to realize that the heart can be more lethal than the sword. So I think I have the rest of this series already, so I wanted to get the rest, the final book. I think that's the final book anyway. Let me check. Nope, it's not the final book. There's one more. It's called Immortal Reign. Unless I have that, I'll have to check. Anyway, continuing on, we have this big stack right here. Ugh. Oh gosh. Okay, next up we have Save Me by Jenny Elliott. And this says, something strange is going on in the tiny coastal town of Liberty, Oregon. Kara has never seen a whale swim close enough for her to touch, let alone knock her into freezing water. Fortunately, a cute newcomer, David, is there to save her, and the rescue leads to a bond deeper than Kara ever imagined. But then she learns something about David that changes everything, and Kara is devastated. She turns to her best friend for support, but Rachel is different. She's suddenly into witchcraft and is becoming dangerously obsessed with her new boyfriend. Kara has lost her best friend, discovered that her soulmate is off limits, and attracted the attention of a stalker. At least she's not completely alone. Her mysterious, gorgeous new friend, Garen, is there to support her. But is Garen possibly too perfect? Okay, next up we have The Body Institute by Carol Riggs. And this is the first book in a series. This says, meet Morgan Day, one of the top teen reducers at the Body Institute. Thanks to cutting-edge technology, Morgan can temporarily take over another girl's body, get her in shape, and then return to her own body, leaving her client slimmer, more toned, and feeling great. Only there are a few catches. For one, Morgan won't remember what happened to her loner body. Once she's done, she won't recall walks with her new friend Matt, conversations with the super cute reducer she's been flirting with, or the uneasy feeling she has that the director of the Body Institute is hiding something. Still, it's all worth it in the name of science, until the glitches start. Suddenly, residual memories from her loner are cropping up in Morgan's mind. She's feeling less like herself and more like someone else, and when protests from an anti-Body Institute organization threaten her safety, she'll have to decide if being a reducer is worth the cost of her body and soul. And I think this sounds really, really interesting. Next up, we have A Whole New Tale, or A Whole New World. This is a twisted tale by Liz Braswell, and it's an Aladdin retelling. This says, what if Aladdin had never found the lamp? Aladdin is a street rat, like most. He's just trying to survive another day in impoverished Agrabah. Jasmine is a princess, one who is about to enter into an arranged marriage. All she wants is to escape her fate, to see what lies beyond the palace walls. But everything changes when the Sultan's trusted advisor, Jafar, suddenly rises to power. With the help of an ancient lamp, Jafar attempts to break the laws of magic and gain control over love and death. Soon, Aladdin and the disposed princess Jasmine must unite the people of Agrabah in rebellion to stop the power-mad ruler threatening to tear the kingdom apart. This isn't the story you already know. This is a story about power, about revolutionaries, about love, and about one moment changing everything. And I love it! Okay, next up we have Girl of Nightmares by Kendar Blake. And this is the second book in the Anna series. The first book is called Anna Dressed in Blood. And this says, Cass Lowood has inherited an unusual... This says, Cass Lowood has inherited an unusual vocation. He kills the dead. So did his father before him, until he was gruesomely murdered by a ghost he sought to kill. Now armed with his father's mysterious and deadly atham, Cass travels the country with his kitchen witch mother and their spirit-sniffing cat. They follow legends and local lore, destroy the murderous dead, and keep pesky things like the future and friends at bay. Searching for a ghost the locals call Anna dressed in blood, Cass expects the usual: track, hunt, kill. What he finds instead is a girl entangled in curses and rage, a ghost like he's never faced before. She still wears the dress she wore on the day of her brutal murder in 1958. Once white, now stained red and dripping with blood. Since her death, Anna has killed any and every person who has dared step into the deserted Victorian she used to call home. Yet she spares Cass's life. And this gives me like Supernatural vibes. Like, it reminds me of the very first episode of Supernatural. That's not really a show I ever watched, but I think I remember watching that first episode and it was this story going on. Okay, next up is another first in a series, and that is Denton Little's Death Date by Lance Rubin. And this says, "Tomorrow is the day I'm going to die. I don't mean to get all dramatic about it. In Denton's world, everyone knows their death date in advance. You attend your own funeral and plan your last meal surrounded by friends and family. It just makes sense. But if Denton knew what was in store for his last day, hangovers, love triangles, jealous exes, shotgun standoffs, a mysterious purple rash spreading across his body, and spontaneous dance routines at the prom, he might not be so calm. One thing is certain, Denton is going to have a magical evening or die trying." And I think this sounds very interesting. And it's, like I said, it's the first in a series. I guess the second book is Denton Little's Still Not Dead. Next up we have A Monster Calls by Patrick Ness. This says, an extraordinary novel of love, loss, and hope. The monster has come calling for Connor, and it wants the most dangerous thing of all. It wants the truth. Inspired by the final story idea of writer Siobhan Dowd, and now a captivating film distributed by Focus Features, Patrick Ness's award-winning novel is a heartbreaking tale of mischief, healing, and above all, the courage it takes to survive. Okay, so this next book I kind of made as an oopsie because I thought it was a standalone, because I think most of Colleen Hoover's books are standalones, but this one apparently is not. This one is actually a novella, so it is book 2.5 in this series. The series is called Hopeless, but book 2.5 is Finding Cinderella. I do not own the first two books, so I'll need to get those if I want to read this. But the first book says, or is called Hopeless, and it says, "Sometimes discovering the truth can leave you more hopeless than believing the lies. That's what 17-year-old Sky realizes after she meets Dean Holder, a guy with a reputation that rivals her own and an uncanny ability to invoke feelings in her she's never had before. He terrifies her and captivates her all in the span of just one encounter. And something about the way he makes her feel sparks buried memories from a past that she wishes could just stay buried. Sky struggles to keep him at a distance, knowing he's nothing but trouble, but Holder insists on learning everything about her, and finally caving to his unwavering pursuit, Sky soon finds that Holder isn't at all who he's been claiming to be. When the secrets he's been keeping are finally revealed, every single facet of Sky's life will change forever." Okay, next up we have The Half-Life of Molly Pierce by Katrina Leno. This says, "You live and you remember. Me, I live and I forget. But now I am remembering. For all of her 17 years, Molly feels like she's missed bits and pieces of her life. Now she's figuring out why. Now she's remembering her own secrets. Bit by bit, Molly is uncovering the separate life she seemed to have led, and the love she can't let go." And this is also a really short one. Like, it's only 231 pages. I think this will be a very quick read. Next up we have another first in a series, and that is Daughter of the Pirate King by Tricia Levenseller. And this says, "There will be plenty of time for me to beat him soundly once I've gotten what I came for. Sent on a mission to retrieve an ancient hidden map, the key to a legendary treasure trove, 17-year-old pirate captain Alosa deliberately allows herself to be captured by her enemies, giving her the perfect opportunity to search their ship. More than a match for the ruthless pirate crew, Alosa has only one thing standing between her and the map: her captor, the unexpectedly clever and unfairly attractive first mate, Raiden. But not to worry, for Alosa has a few tricks up her sleeve, and no lone pirate can stop the daughter of the Pirate King. Next up is actually a copy of a book that I already own, but I have a paperback copy, and, well, I came across this and I was able to get it cheap, and it's a hardcover and a signed edition of 13 Reasons Why. This is the deluxe 10th anniversary edition. It says, featuring an introduction from Jay Asher, deleted scenes, original ending, and more. And this says, Clay Jensen returns home from school to find a strange package with his name on it lying on his porch. Inside, he discovers several cassette tapes recorded by Hannah Baker, his classmate and crush, who committed suicide 2 weeks earlier. Hannah's voice tells him that there are 13 reasons why she decided to end her life. Clay is one of them. If he listens, he'll find out why. Clay spends the night crisscrossing his town with Hannah as his guide. He becomes a first-hand witness to Hannah's pain, and as he follows her recorded words throughout town, what he discovers changes his life forever. And I think I've heard pretty mixed things about this, but I'm interested to see what it's all about. And then last but not least, I read another book by this author and really enjoyed it, so I wanted to get this one as well. That is I See London, I See France by Sarah Milanowski. And the other book that I read by her was, what was it called? Something like 10 Things We Did and Probably Shouldn't Have, or something like that. And it was a lot of fun, so I'm looking forward to reading this. Ooh, cute. This says, I see London, I see France, I see Sydney's underpants. 19-year-old Sydney has the perfect summer mapped out. She's spending the next 4.5 weeks traveling through Europe with her childhood best friend Leela. Their plans include Eiffel Tower selfies, eating cocoa gelato, and making out with trace hot strangers. Her plans do not include Leela's cheating ex-boyfriend showing up on the flight to London, falling for the cheating ex-boyfriend's Trey hot friend, monitoring her mother's spiraling mental health via text, or feeling like the rope in a friendship tug-of-war. In this hilarious and unforgettable adventure, New York Times bestselling author Sarah Milanowski tells the story of a girl learning to navigate secret romances, thorny relationships, and the London Tube. As Sydney zigzags through Amsterdam, Switzerland, Italy, and France, she must learn when to hold on and when to keep moving, and when to jump into the Riviera, wearing only her polka dot underpants. And I love like a travel-y kind of book, and I also really enjoyed her other books, so I'm really excited to read this. And that's all 34 books in this haul. Yeah, that was a lot. Have you guys read any of these? Did you like them? Did you not? Comment down below and let me know. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, give me a big thumbs up. If you'd like to see more videos like this, click that subscribe button down below. And until next time, remember to always be completely you. Bye!